Today, we're diving into China's massive naval ambitions and its long-game rivalry with the United States. And this story isn't just about ships and missiles. No, it's a high-stakes game of patience, deception, and a grand strategy that's been in the works for decades. Let's get right into it.
So what if the secret to becoming the world's top power isn't about winning a quick, decisive war? What if it's about playing the long game? See, China is betting on a strategy of survival and endurance. The idea isn't to take on America head-to-head right now, but to simply wait, grow stronger, and eventually reshape the world order from a position of strength. At the very core of this strategy is an idea that some experts trace all the way back to Mao Zedong: strategic stalemate. The thinking in Beijing is pretty simple. They know the US has a massive military advantage today. So instead of trying for a direct fight they can't win, the goal is just to hang on, to bend without breaking, all while they close that economic and military gap. And you can see this strategy playing out most clearly on the high seas with their booming navy.
To really get why China is so obsessed with building a massive navy, we've got to jump back in time. Because this whole thing didn't just happen gradually. It was sparked by one single event. An event so humiliating, it changed Beijing's military ambitions forever. Okay, so it all kicks off in 1995. The US gives a visa to Taiwan's president, and Beijing sees this as a huge betrayal. Their response? They start firing missiles into the waters right near Taiwan. But the American answer was swift, and it was overwhelming. 2 enormous aircraft carrier battle groups sailed right into the region. China was stunned. They had absolutely nothing that could challenge that kind of power. That feeling of complete helplessness created a national promise: never, ever again. So China needed an aircraft carrier. The problem was, building one from scratch was impossible, and nobody was going to sell them one. So what they did next? Well, it reads like something straight out of a spy thriller. It was an incredible act of deception that became the foundation for their entire naval future. The mission was crystal clear, even if it seemed completely out of reach. China had to get its hands on an aircraft carrier. For a country whose navy was, decades behind technologically, this was more than just a goal. It became a national obsession. And this was their target, the Varyag. It was basically a giant, unfinished Soviet rust bucket, just sitting in a Ukrainian shipyard after the USSR collapsed. Ukraine tried to sell it for years, but nobody wanted it. It was just a forgotten relic of the Cold War. The cover story they came up with was, honestly, brilliant. A former Chinese army basketball player shows up, pretending to be a businessman, and makes Ukraine an offer. He says he wants to buy this giant hunk of metal to turn it into a floating casino and hotel in Macau. And Ukraine, totally desperate to get this thing off their books, they bought the story hook, line, and sinker. And the final price tag? Just $20 million. I mean, to put that into perspective, that is peanuts. That's less than what a lot of billionaires pay for a private yacht. And they got the hold of a future supercarrier for it. Just incredible. So after years of being towed halfway around the world, the casino ship finally arrives. But it doesn't go to Macau. It sails straight into a naval base in Dalian, China. And the second it was painted naval gray, the whole world knew the truth. This was never about a casino. This was the start of China's aircraft carrier program. And that one single audacious purchase kicked off one of the fastest military development programs in modern history. It's the perfect example of their long-term plan, showing how that one rusted hulk became the seed for a truly world-class carrier fleet. The pace was just methodical and incredibly fast. In 2012, that casino ship was reborn as the Liaoning, China's very first carrier. Then, by 2019, they launched the Shandong, which was their first copy built entirely at home. But the real game changer, the quantum leap, is the Fujian. This ship changes the entire strategic map. Okay, here's why the Fujian is such a massive deal. The first 2 Chinese carriers use this kind of outdated ski jump ramp to get planes in the air. The problem is that really limits how much fuel and weapons the planes can carry. The Fujian, though, it uses advanced electromagnetic catapults. We're talking the exact same cutting-edge tech that's on America's newest carrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford. And this isn't just some tiny improvement. According to analysts at the U.S. Naval War College, this tech multiplies China's naval air power by 3 to 4 times. It lets them launch jets that are heavier, carry more bombs, and fly way farther. The Fujian was basically a signal to the entire world.
China is catching up, and they're doing it fast. But here's the thing. Individual ships, even these incredible supercarriers, they're only one part of the story. The real competition, the one that could actually decide who comes out on top in the long run, isn't happening on the ocean. It's happening in the shipyards. This has become a war of pure industrial capacity. And, well, when you look at who can build more ships, this chart says it all, doesn't it? It's not even a competition. China's shipbuilding capacity, that giant bar right there, just completely dwarfs what the United States can do. They can pump out ships, both commercial and military, at a scale America just can't match right now. And that gets to the absolute core of the problem for the United States. Its shipbuilding industry has been shrinking for decades. The shipyards are often old, they're inefficient, and they're really expensive. Meanwhile, China's industrial machine, which is fueled by huge government investments, can just outproduce the US when it comes to destroyers, frigates, and other warships. They're basically growing their fleet way faster than America can. So, what does all this mean for the future? Well, all these different threads, the tech, the industrial power, the strategic patience, they're all coming together on a single timeline, and it's pointing toward a potential massive shift in global power by the middle of this century. Now, let's be totally clear here. The US still has some huge advantages. It has 11 nuclear-powered carriers that can go anywhere in the world. It has decades of real combat experience, better tech in a lot of areas, and a massive network of allies. China, on the other hand, has never actually fought a modern war at sea and has some pretty serious strategic weaknesses. But this all comes back to the main point, right? In a really long, drawn-out conflict, having slightly better tech can get overwhelmed by just sheer numbers. So maybe the most important question isn't who has the best carrier today, it's who can build, repair, and replace ships faster when things really hit the fan. In the long arc of history, industrial power tends to be what decides these great power rivalries. And look, China is not being subtle about its plans. They've stated their goals publicly. By 2035, they want to have a fully modernized military. And by 2050, their goal is to have a world-class military that can fight and win any war. And honestly, given the pace they're on, that doesn't really seem like a fantasy anymore. So that leaves us with the critical question for the next couple of decades. Is China's industrial and military momentum just unstoppable at this point? Will their strategy of patience pay off and let them build that world-class military by 2050? Or can the US use its current advantages to stay ahead? The future isn't written yet, but the race is definitely on. Thanks for watching.